of the government's most powerful spying tools is coming under the microscope later on today as lawmakers weigh whether or not to renew the controversial policy. The House Rules Committee will discuss Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, better known as FISA, and it's set to be included in the National Defense Authorization Act that Congress will vote on later this week. FISA allows the government to collect data on foreign nationals without a warrant. However, critics say it also allows incidental data collection on everyday U.S. citizens, such as correspondence from our emails, phone calls, even text messages. For more on this, we're joined by NewsNation national security contributor, retired Air Force Lieutenant General Richard Newton. General Newton, always good to have you. The decision to include the renewal of Section 702 has drawn a lot of criticism from Republicans and Democrats alike, despite Congress renewing it twice before. Why is this tool and this program suddenly so controversial?
Well, good morning, Markie. The global nature of electronic data, that really where our threats reside overseas, those terrorists and spies and hackers and so forth, the nature of that electronic data is ever expanding. That's my first point. Secondly, though, their abilities to try to block the tracking of that data, that information, essentially tracking them, is becoming ever more difficult. The legislation that you referred to in FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which I've seen, this is over 10 years or so ago, but I've saw many of those products myself when I was on active duty. It's very, very important data, very, very important intelligence. And the president actually gets briefed on this intelligence. More than half of what he gets in his daily intel brief comes from Section 702. So it's critical. But the challenge is, because of the nature of the data and the ubiquitousness necessarily of the data, has some members of Congress, I think appropriately, concerned about privacy issues and so forth. So that's really the crux of the problem that we're facing right now.
I know it's also been credited with detecting many terrorist threats before, and I know a lot of people are saying it should stay in place, intact, as is. I'm curious, though, General, what kinds of reforms are being talked about with 702, and what kind of effect might that have on the program's ability to collect data? Because one of the main criticisms, as I mentioned off the top, is it's warrantless and it's collecting data from everyday Americans, but even that information sometimes leads authorities to criminal activity.
It sure can. In fact, the director of FBI, Wray, testified to the Senate last week and practically pleaded to keep the legislation as is. He believes, and I believe also, that there are a sufficient amount of guardrails that, again, protect American citizens' rights and so forth, that really focus on more so the nature of the threat of, as I mentioned, those terrorists and spies overseas. But, with this data, and certainly with this Act, Section 702, you just can't replace the speed and certainly the reliability of the data to go out and find, fix, and target these terrorists. In a world, Markie, that's becoming ever more challenging. We've had Hamas, we've got Hezbollah, certainly with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. The threats to the United States and our vital national security interests are ever expanding. But I think what you're going to see in Congress, and Congress has appropriate oversight here, though. Let's be clear on that. That if there are maybe perhaps additional guardrails set up, I would compel members of Congress, however, not to restrict that speed and certainly the reliability of that data that's needed to protect vital U.S. national security interests, essentially protect Americans. Yeah. It's going to be coming up for immediate vote here probably this week or next week in the Defense Authorization Bill. But really, it's going to come up for legislation in 4 months or so, next April. And that's when we're going to see a lot of discussion. But there's lots of bipartisan legislation in support of the act as it is. Whether or not they add those guardrails, I would just ask members of Congress not to slow down, our access and speed and reliability of that data in order to find, fix, and target these terrorists to protect American people.
And I know you just brought up Christopher Wray not that long ago. He was in a hearing last week he attended, saying that failure to reauthorize Section 702 would be unilateral disarmament. Do you agree with that, sir? And how big of an impact would that have on national security if Congress were to decide to sunset 702 and let it expire?
Well, I certainly do agree with Director Wray's assessment. And again, he is at the focus of protecting U.S. vital national security interests, in particular with counterterrorism and so forth. since 9/11, and I was part of the national security infrastructure back in the day, you're seeing really very close integration and synchronization between our intelligence communities and the FBI for counterterrorism, for targets overseas. That's the key point here.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.